around the world, a number of people out there that are caught in this evolution argument. That Allah says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَيَتَّخِذَهَا هُزُوًا. Among mankind are those who create frivolous talk in order to take you away from the path of Allah. And I think as much as science has its arguments, those who keep harping on this are really embarking on frivolous talk. And I think it's a problem.
Brother Stan, what's the verse?
This is Surah Luqman. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ. This is the third, I think third or the fourth verse. Surah Luqman? Yeah, the third verse. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ. Among mankind are those who concoct stories to take people away from the path of Allah. And they take your religion as a mockery. They laugh at you. وَيَتَّخِذَهَا. They take خُزْوَةً. They laugh at you. Okay? فَبَشِّرْهُمْ بِعَذَابٍ عَلِيمٍ. Give them the news that they will be punished. Because it's logical what the Quran says, give them the news, because if I am a true atheist and I believe I am just the product of a total accident and I have no purpose in life, why would I make fun of your religion? If my whole existence has no meaning, why would I make fun of your religion? Now I'm being purposeful, I'm making fun. So suddenly I've concocted purpose from a non-purposeful existence, which is going to a non-purpose. To me, the whole argument is absolutely irrational. And the only reason this irrational behavior exists is because that disbeliever in God, in his heart of hearts, as confused as he may be, is misbehaving. And he has or she has an agenda to counter the truth. That's my opinion. How to explain to our Sunni brothers why we do not use their hadith? We do use Sunni hadith too. Sunni hadith, Shia hadith is not a problem for us. What is important for us is every hadith has to be validated with the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. But especially the Quran. Quran for us is fundamental. The Quran will dictate which hadith is valid. In our hadith books, majority of our hadith is questionable. 60% of Al-Kafi is questionable. So what? I don't care. But our hadith is not an infallible collection. It's a series of statements, and there are true statements of our Prophet and Imams, and there is false statements, or there are misunderstandings. The Quran will validate. It is the Furqan, because the one that will tell you this hadith is valid. So as far as we explain to our Sunni brothers too, that all of us, Sunnis and the Shi'i, should go to the Quran, and if the Quran nods and says yes, hey, that's accepted. I don't care where it comes from. Of course, as far as we're concerned, our hadith tends to be more authentic as far as we're understanding, because, for example, people ask me, when was Fatima uz-Zahra salamullahi alayha shaheed, for example? Or when was the sixth Imam born? Or for example, the Prophet's birthday. Prophet's birthday, some say it was 17th of Rabiul Awwal, others, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they say the 12th of Rabiul Awwal. Which one is true? The Jama'ah for the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, it's 12th of Rabiul Awwal. I said, well, who would know better? It's amazing. I was at Cornell University a month ago at Cornell. I was lecturing there, and a Sunni brother came to me. He says, I don't understand why we as Sunnis don't follow Ahlul Bayt. I said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, if there was anybody who knew the Prophet the most, it must be his family. So why am I going anywhere else? He's telling me himself. He says, it doesn't make sense. Why are we going to the Sahaba? The Sahaba were not living with the Prophet. They don't know him. They don't even know his dates. It's his family that knows his dates. I don't know why we're going there. When the Islam told me to go to the family. And he's writing a whole book. He just sent me a whole series of articles. He's trying to encourage his people to also go to Ahlul Bayt, for it's only rational and logical. So, if we follow that pathway, alhamdulillah, it's going to take us in the right direction. What is the history of the Azan and the reason for Shia Sunni difference in its recitation? And what sort of Azan did the Imam recite, and when was Imam Ali's name added to the Azan? Azan in general is a call to prayer. There are core pieces of Azan that the Prophet mentioned, that he recited. Hayya ala khayr al-amal, for example, was clearly in the Azan. And in the books of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, it is clear that the second caliph removed it. So it's not what we say. They say themselves that the Azan was, that Hayya ala khayr al-amal was removed. So, from our argument is that the Holy Prophet certainly recited it, and therefore it should be kept. It's in the book of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah clearly that Umar ibn Khattab added that. He liked that and he added that. Those additions and subtractions beg the question that who authorized it? If God appoints a representative, then He has every authority to add or to remove. But if Allah does not appoint an individual, I don't care what he feels about Islam, it's outside of the jurisdiction of religion. I'm sorry. Because if He can do it, so can I. What makes Him special? Okay? Did Allah set a standard that because if you meet the Prophet, you shake his hand, suddenly you get certain authority? There's no rule like that. Therefore then He's no different than I am. So what would give these caliphs the authority and not me? Okay, and why can't we sit around and choose our own caliphs today? So those are questions that we need to ask. As far as we're concerned, that's the basis of Adhan. As far as Ashhadu anna Aliyan Waliullah, it's not an addition in the Quran, it's an expression. It's not, some of our ulama Maraji clearly say that Ashhadu anna Aliyan Waliullah is not the part of the Quran, it's an expression of Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasul. And the reason is, it's almost like when we look at Usul al-Din. Usul al-Din, as you notice, the core of Usul al-Din is actually only three: Tawheed, Nubuwwah, and Qiyamah. Adal is brought out because Adalat was challenged by certain schools of thought, therefore there's a greater deal of expression which becomes, knows we're emphasizing something that has been ignored within Tawheed. When Imamat was rejected, we emphasized it from Nubuwwah. We brought it out because Imamah is part of Nubuwwah. They're inseparable. The natural consequence of Nubuwwah. Therefore we express it. So the same as Adhan, Ashhadu anna Aliyan Waliullah is an expression of that which was rejected. We consider it as mustahab. Okay, and that's just really, as far as I'm concerned, additions and subtractions, if you want to call it, technically speaking, there is no such thing in Islam that can be allowed as far as religious law, shari'i, that can be added or subtracted after the Prophet's departure. It's forbidden. Impossible. Because then it will negate the verse, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. Today we have completed for you the religion. Akmaltu, kamil means completion. Well, if religion can be changed later after the Prophet, then the Quranic verse is falsified. And that's impossible. Thus, akmaltu lakum dinakum means it must be complete. Now the question is, well, the Imams have shown us greater light into the laws of God. Okay, it's part of the kamil because what makes the Imam, if the Imam says to me, stop doing the Adhan today, I'll stop doing the Adhan. I say, but the Prophet did it. The Imam says, no, I tell you to stop. Why is it valid? Because he is appointed by God. The minute a representative is appointed by God, he must be parallel with God. That means whatever he's saying must be coming from God. That's why Prophet gets that authority. But if a person is not appointed by God and is appointed by people, he has no jurisdiction within the laws of God. Thus any addition and subtraction coming from any of the caliphs or thereafter, anybody thereafter, is in clear violation of Islamic law. Unless you can validate that Allah appointed. Now there are those who try to argue this, that yeah, but indirectly they were through Shura and through Ijma'. I said, okay, if Shura and Ijma' is the quality, then why was the third caliph chosen by a group of 6 people with one person having 2 votes? You know, Abd al-Rahman ibn Auf, right? And Ali was, okay, is that in Islam? You actually admit this is right or that's right. And then if Shura is the way, well, I think there's about 2 billion of us. Let's all get together. We got the internet. We can have polling stations today. And we can run a very rapid Shura system. Right now, we can choose the Khalifa in an hour. Why are we not doing it? Have we done something wrong? We now still the 21st century Khalifas? Suddenly, you let the cat out and you start to see, oh, that's a very interesting response. How can we approach the issue of the secular young? This is a complicated question. I will skip that one. It's a whole discussion in itself. What was the Prophet's most famous hadith? Most famous hadith? Most famous hadith, I think, probably is Mutawatir hadith, which is hadith that was so popular that people heard it. Of course, it depends on which school of thought you belong to. But in general, the most famous hadith of the Prophet were those hadith referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will just that. Is there electronics in heaven? Yes, too. Believe me, it's much better than that. Junk. I speak like I was there, right? Sometimes you need to. The Quran mentions numerous times that we should fear Allah. Then you talk about what kind of relationship we should have with God. Excellent question. Fear here is positive fear, not negative fear. Fear of Allah is never negative. In other words, we should never be afraid of Allah, although Allah